So they'll be calling you a radical. Nobody knows more about the Compensation Act, the radiation, than Kevin Blanch. I'm born and raised in Utah. Given 2 months to live in 29, leukemia. My father, famous guy in Ogden, Utah. Freaking born and raised. I'm 7th generation Utah. Died in the prime of his life. This guy never had a cold, never had a cavity of cancer. He drafted Marine, nuked the Nevada test site, but I don't want to talk about this. A lot of people don't get this about the Compensation Act. It's been a joke the whole time. It's been gamed. It's been manipulated. These politicians down there in Juab drew lines, whatever. It's been proven over and over that people that didn't, should have never got money. And the people that should have got money never got money. My dad died in the prime of his life, comes from a big family, multi-generation here in Ogden, Utah, Weber County. And he, most of his family's still alive. They're in their 90s, whatever. He has 3 sisters, 4 brothers. No cancer, ever, none. He never had a cavity, never had a cold, died of leukemia in the prime of his life. And then I get it. I'll tell you what I got. I got a bill for 1.8. You know what my mom got when he died? Nothing. Not a fucking medal, not a check, not a thank you, not a nothing. You know, and we're talking, my uncle, his brother Claude, who was probably the most decorated pilot in the history of this country post-World War II, born and raised here, the #1 shirt in Japan, the valedictorian in chemistry at BYU, the marquee incredible 5 fucking letter athlete. His office was in the Pentagon. He did all the research. That's where I got those pictures. In the cage, Air Blast 1. They know. So let me talk about this. So they let it. It's done. It's over. It's expired. It was a mess. It got gamed. It was a joke. It was always a fucking joke. And everybody in Utah knows it. The people that should have got it never got it. I wonder, because Mike Lee, you can look up the video, told me right to me, well, Kevin, you know, I just found out my dad's a downwinder. You can look it up. I prepped his aid for it. He's in Utah. So you want to bet that Mike Lee got a check? Now, I don't know this, but it's public domain. You guys, online sleuths, you need to dig in. See if Mike Lee got some of that compensation money. I bet he did. Just found out my dad was a downwinder, Kevin. Oh, you're not, huh, Mike? So he voted against it. Utah, all these politicians. Now, stay with me. So 2 different senators, a Republican and a Democrat, put together a Senate bill to re-up it and open up. Of course, the downwinders at Trinity, New Mexico did. Of course, the downwinders right here in Utah. And by the way, when Danny uses that map, that's Richard Miller under the cloud. I knew Richard Miller personally. Richard Miller used to travel around all the world. That map is incredible. I knew him. That's how long I've been in this fight. You know, that's a great book, by the way, Under the Cloud. He would travel around, go around to different and document leukemia. Why do you think they changed the laws on you to report cause of death? By the way, my lifelong best friend out there got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer yesterday. It's fucking heartbreaking. It's just us 2 boys in West River. All right, it's just you know, he was on the one ranch here, I'm on the other ranch. So, stay with me. So the Compensation Act, the senator, the female Democrat senator, the male Republican senator put up a bill. And then, of course, Mike Johnson refused to put it, but let me stay with me on this bill. This bill, do you know about Price Anderson? So Price Anderson, when you're went off to Iraq to get Dick Cheney and friend of Big Old Sacks, while you're busy freaking mass murdering 2 million people and spraying depleted uranium, where did we get depleted uranium from? Nuclear energy reactor. So, while you're busy doing that, they re-up Price Anderson for 20 years in 2005. Price Anderson expires at midnight this year, December 31st. So, it's important. In that bill that both senators had, they had re-upping Price Anderson for 40 years. I'm not kidding. I've been throwing a fit doing video. That's bullshit. But again, people aren't paying. That's where we've gone. That's how fucked up Congress is anymore. These bills will say, oh, the Clean Air Great Freaking Act, which is an act to open up more poison. You know, Warren Buffett, that dirtbag who owns Rocky Mountain Power here, that's why we're still using coal here. If your kid's got asthma here, you got anything, Warren Buffett, 93-year-old dirtbag who's still trying to make money. Sicko freak. Yeah, he owns. They dereg the utilities, and he bought them all up. You think Diablo Canyon, you think Santa Barbara are all freaking PG&E? No. I mean, these dirtbags own them. He owns the coal fire plants, and every time we get a sore initiative, he sends lawyers, and they basically, you got me in the Utah State election. Hill got hijacked. That was one of the original groups. Matt had to quit. This guy that runs Hill now is a clown. I mean, that's what they did. Mission accomplished. So, this is important. Because nobody else is reporting. Like anything else is reality. I'm the only one that's reporting it. So, well, and activists, I do the work. I don't eat, sleep, drink. I was in the bone marrow transplant center in 2011. Given 2 months to live with them. I don't do opinion. So, in Utah, the LDS State bone marrow transplant, it's not the Huntsman, it's the #1 leukemia unit probably in the country. Bimbo Peterson. I was given 2 months to live, ML de Nouveau, which is unsurvivable. I lived in there for 5 years. Off and on, mostly on. Quarantined there a lot of it. I'd go to California, work the tide pools, come back in there. It's important. So, I'm in there. The area that they serve, including Arco, Idaho. I don't know, Sean. What's happening, brother? So, including Arco.
Go in and look at the new. Go in and look at the new exhibit in the Egyptian.
Will do.
You just opened.
I'm gonna. Thanks, man. My daughter. That's what she does. She runs the Egyptian. Anyway, I mean, that girl, I always say she should be the first mayor of Ogden. She's had like 10 jobs here in Ogden. She worked at the Ben Lomond. I mean, she runs Ben Lomond. Her name's Susan. But anyway, so Southern Utah makes up about 5% of the Utah population-wise, maybe a hair more. And they serve, LDS State takes all of Utah and part of Idaho. Go in there on any fucking day, I'm telling you. It's brutal in there. There's 44 of us in there. Look at Marshall Jensen. He was in the room next to most famous leukemia case in history. I mean, Kevin and Carl, they used to call us. They all passed away. The #1 Nancy, the #1 triathlete at one time in the world was in there with me. I'm like, you moved to Moab to train? You didn't know it's right out. She said, I didn't know then, Kevin, but I know now. I struggled that long. Fuck, I fucking see. Cole Eisenhower, I'm friends with him. Any given day, you go in there, well over 50% of people in there dying of AML leukemia, which is a radical freaking acute, are from Southern Utah. When they make and that's not opinion. I lived there for 5 months. Coco Celeste, she ran the clinic there. She said, Kevin, I've worked here for 26 years. A lot of people don't like your style. You're radical, you're intense, blah, blah, blah. She says, I grew up in Manhattan. I love your style. She says, I prepared your paperwork when you come in here. Let's walk over to the Egyptian. And Egyptian's grand. By the way, a lot of it's fake. My hand's in there too. Some of that restoration is my hand. Fuck, every building's got my hand in it. In this town, I got 10,000 of them. So, they're all from Southern Utah. So the Compensation Act, Price Anderson is what we call the Immunity Act. In the late 50s was passed by Congress to, so they all know it. So it's like new scale. We rip everybody off. The nuclear pork, which is the Department of Atomic, which is now the Department of Energy, billions and trillions. These guys start up these companies, do whatever, and anything fell, any accident, any liability, any you can't sue them because of the congressional act called Price-Anderson. These two senators tried to up that for 40 years. For 40 years. I did video of it. So this is the game. I mean, it's outrageous, but the Compensation Act was so fucked up. We need a new one? Oh, fuck. You know what people, well, we're all downwinders now. It's fuck. You know, Fukushima. It's Egyptian here. You see my gypsy? This is the old Tune Hotel you see right here. The big oak inlaid mirror that was in there, it's in my house. You know, I'm the walking, talking out in Utah historian. Said I've worked on so many of these fucking buildings. But I've worked for every mayor. I didn't work for this one, Caldwell. I know Ben. He told me right to my face, we're going to say I've been trying to get the Leslie Hudson masterpiece saved at the Coliseum. You know, I've saved so many of them, including the Masonic Temple right there. All the restoration, that marble that's done inside the Ben Lomond for years for Jess, I did all that for 30 years at the Ben Lomond. You know, so I got stories about the icons up at the top there too. World Bank building, that's a fucking disgrace. That ugly fucking, remember the beautiful sign up there? First Security. Even Wells Fargo put it on. That's the bank. That's Mary Eccles building. That's the World Bank. That's it right there. That's the baby. You know, the Browning Eccles fucking fortune. So, Price-Anderson. There's the problem. Jake Garner, our senator from here, spent all those years trying to bust Price-Anderson. Now we got Curtis, who says he sponsors a bill for more nuclear. So it's good this went down. Now, we need a new one? Oh, fuck it. We need a new one. Again, my dad nuked to death in the Nevada test site. The prime of his fucking life. We got a monument at the cemetery for him. There's a whole big monument for him now. Maybe he was that loved in this town. I said, I grew up on the one ranch. My best friend grew on there. We're the only two boys out there. Plus, we didn't go out there. He got diagnosed this week. He's got pancreatic cancer. And he's in perfectly good shape. Non-smoker, non-drinker. So, go and check it out. This building I could write a whole book on. By the way, I'm friends with Mrs. Perry's son. You know, the two Marys. And the second mayor was Perry. This mayor. So, Mr. King, I'm buddies with him. I love that guy. He's awesome. Well, he's not in very good health himself. I'll come the walking, talking encyclopedia. I work for every one of these mayors, including Dirks. I never worked for Caldwell, that piece of shit. Glad he's gone, but I'm friends with Big Ben. I saved the Masonic. That's 1901, the Masonic Temple. I saved that. Not a crew. From my rock climbing gear in Hampshire. The Masonic, some of you front, yeah, that's me. So, it's an important video, and don't give a fuck if it's get 10 video views. Remember when those fell down? When they were doing that so corrupt. That fucking abortion they got going right there. This nightmare really pisses me off. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but remember the lobby in there, just full of marble, just grand, incredible. The clock's been stuck at 10 after 10. He tore the light fixtures off it. Oh, God, here we go. Got his kid in there, too. Little kid. Oh, God, turn that shit off. Man, we used to cruise the bar. We listened to good music. Not that shit. So, let's walk in and see what they got. So, it needed to go down. We can't let Price-Anderson be up again. It expires. They want it up, or you could see that the nuclear lobbies likes these bills. These morons, you talk to them? You talk to these morons? They don't even know what you're fucking talking about. And then they slid it in, so I'm glad it's expired. Now, they'll try to put something else together for Price-Anderson, but us as activists, we got to at least make a stand and fight back. Storm blowing in. It's fucking hotter than fuck. So let's walk in and see what they got going. Stand tuned. That Compensation Act was a fucking joke. They got gamed. Somebody check in. Did Mike Lee get a check? his family. You know, Kevin, he told me in 2013, I'll get right back to you on Fukushima. The only person that's ever asked any politician about Fukushima. I've asked both my governors, Cox and Dirty Herbie, why the Fukushima died. I asked my senator, both of them. Mike Lee, I asked Mitt Romney, it's online, they should have millions of views. I asked the new wannabe, John Coltrane Curtis. I've asked every fucking one of them. And by the way, me and Blake Moore's going to have it out. I got a bone to pick with that fucker. That these politicians are just foolish puppets. So, one day I'll do some videos about this whole thing. I restored a lot of this before they come in. Inside, oh, it's grand in here. And I mean grand. So, I got to tell this story before I forget. So my Uncle Claude is the famous fighter pilot. He's passed away. The chemist, the first surgeon in Japan for all those years. He flew the first mission into Vietnam. He says he was stationed at Klamath then. You know, he was the colonel then, way back then. And he said, we were having some work done on the airplanes out of Hillfield. So I took all the guys here. The Egyptians were showing them Ogden. We were going over to Bertha Anna, dancing, hanging out. Cool ass Ogden. What a scene. And he says, the usher come and tapped us on the shoulder. Are you the fighter battalion? He says, yeah. You've been called. He says, he walked out here. There was a car right here. They loaded them, got him. He says, the planes were still on the blocks. They're scrambling. And they threw the first bombing missions, fighter missions in Vietnam. So, Ogden got so much fucking history. So let's go see what they got in the Egyptian. So, I'm glad it went down. We need to fight back because they had 40 years expansion. I mean, it's so over the top. Fucking more nuclear, just more pork flying out. The nuclear energy pork renaissance. We have to at least fight back in the name of all our loved ones. We're all downwinders now. Fukushima. Stay in tune.